Right now, somewhere in your brain, there's a memory you haven't thought about in years. Maybe it's a smell, a specific street corner at a specific time of day, someone's voice saying something they probably don't even remember saying. You didn't choose to keep it. You didn't file it away on purpose. It just stayed. And here's the thing nobody tells you that ability, the thing that lets you remember a stranger's face from 15 years ago, but forget where you put your keys this morning. That wasn't always how the human brain worked. There was a specific moment in history when everything changed. When the human mind crossed a line it could never uncross. And the theory of what caused it? It might be the strangest thing you hear all week. The old brain. For the first 200,000 years of human existence, your ancestors had a completely different relationship with memory. Think of it less like a library and more like a security camera with a 24-hour loop. Every morning it recorded over yesterday. You kept what kept you alive today. Predator movements, food locations, weather patterns, the faces of your tribe, and everything else, gone, automatically. No drama. This wasn't a flaw. It was the whole point. A brain that holds onto everything is a slow brain. A slow brain gets eaten. So evolution kept the system lean. Anthropologists studying communities with minimal outside contact noticed something fascinating. When asked to recount their history, stories rarely extended more than 2 or 3 generations back. Not because these people weren't intelligent, because the deeper past simply wasn't relevant to staying alive. The brain treated old memories the way your phone treats unused apps. Eventually, it just closes them. But then something strange started showing up in the archaeological record. Around 70,000 years ago, humans began leaving behind objects that had absolutely no survival value. Shell beads carried hundreds of miles inland from the coast, red ochre ground into fine powder, geometric patterns carved into stone walls, not maps, not warnings, just patterns, just shapes that someone felt compelled to make and leave behind. The brain wasn't just recording anymore. It had started curating, preserving things not because they were useful, but because they meant something. That is a completely different kind of mind, and something triggered it. The theory. For decades, scientists called this the Great Leap Forward. Language, art, long-range trade, complex social planning, all appearing within a relatively narrow window of time. The dominant theory was a random genetic mutation, a lucky rewiring that suddenly unlocked human potential like a cheat code. But a quieter, darker theory has been building in the margins, and it doesn't start with luck. It starts with a catastrophe. 74,000 years ago, in what is now northern Sumatra, Indonesia, a supervolcano called Toba erupted. And when I say erupted, I don't mean the kind you've seen footage of. I mean the kind that geologists find evidence of on every continent simultaneously. The kind that releases so much sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere that it forms a reflective blanket around the entire planet, blocking sunlight for years. What followed was a volcanic winter. Temperatures dropped. Wild plants died. Animal populations crashed. The sky for months may have been the color of a bruise. Genetic studies suggest the entire human species was reduced to a breeding population of somewhere between 3,000 and 10,000 individuals. Think about that. Every single person alive on Earth today is descended from a group smaller than most high schools. For years, scientists treated this as a near-extinction footnote. Toba happened, humans nearly died, some survived, moving on. But a small group of cognitive archaeologists started asking a different question. What if it wasn't just the physically strongest who survived? What if survival selected for a specific kind of mind? The humans with a 24-hour memory loop had nothing to work with when the food disappeared. Their mental model of the world disappeared with it. But the humans who could hold a detailed memory of how the world used to be? Who could picture a green valley they hadn't seen in 2 years and navigate toward it? Those humans had a map when everyone else was blind. Those humans built the social networks that made survival possible. They remembered faces across long distances. They held on to the concept of a future that didn't match their present. They could grieve for what was lost and still keep moving. Under this theory, Toba didn't just thin the population. It ran the most brutal selection filter in our species' history. And what it selected for was memory, imagination, the ability to carry the past into the future. It selected, in other words, for the mind you have right now. What this means: if this theory is correct, then human consciousness as we experience it is not our natural state. It's not the default. It's what happens after the world ends, and only the people who couldn't stop remembering it make it through. Every museum, every photograph, every story passed at a dinner table, every grave ever dug, every name carved into stone. And here's where it gets personal. The brain that overthinks. The one that replays conversations at 3 a.m. word by word. The one that holds on to things long past the point of usefulness. The one that sits with grief longer than seems rational. The one that imagines futures that may never happen and mourns past that can never return. That brain has been called broken, anxious, too sensitive, too much. But under this theory, it's the brain that was selected for. It's the brain that looked at the end of the world and found a way through. Not by being tougher, not by caring less, but by remembering more. The cost of that gift is that you can't turn it off. The same system that saved us is the one running at 3 a.m. when you should be asleep. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's remembering what it's for. The Toba crater is quiet now. It's a lake. Deep blue water surrounded by jungle so thick, it looks like nothing ever happened there. But somewhere, right now, a person is lying awake in the dark, replaying something, holding on to something, unable to let a memory just dissolve the way a simpler mind would. They are not broken. They are exactly what survived. If that made you think, make sure to hit like and follow for more Stickman entertainment.